Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. We are coming up on episode 100. I was so excited. We're not quite there yet. Don't get me wrong. I'll let you know when we are. Or you can do your counting and see how close we are. Leave that up to you. But I am still your host, Ike. And before I make any more weird sounds or spontaneous statements, I'd like to just take a moment and say thanks for being here and giving this pod a listen. It means a lot. You chose to use your precious time and give me and my guest your ears. You still have the bandwidth after this and you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you think would like it. Or just subscribe yourself if you already haven't. That'd mean a lot. This week and this last week, I definitely have started to fully understand what precious time means. Every minute is allocated, it's utilized, and it's exhausting. But, you know, it's worth it. I have... Today I top-8'd yet another tournament, which is wild. I am on a heater, if there ever was one. I did not yet lose, however. The top 8 doesn't play out until tomorrow. And playing for... The last two I was playing for, you know, like, online faux Monopoly dollars of a sort. This one I'm playing for cold hard cash. So I will keep you posted and let you know how I fare, or you can, you know, follow me on Twitter at twitter.com @likeikes. I'm sure if I win, I will post that there. If you want to ask me any questions about that or anything else, you can always message me at passionandpeevespodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, in preparation for this upcoming tournament in San Diego, I have made the elimination rounds of yet another Magic the Gathering tournament. So starting to get a little cocky, starting to feel a little like I belong, so to speak. Obviously, that's not how that works, but it definitely doesn't hurt. What did hurt a little bit, though, this week is I made a math packet for my junior hires that I have 2 hours a week, and they could have given a fuck for the most part. There was a couple moments of, but a lot of, like, whatever, which was a B. I shouldn't be surprised. Like looking back, obviously that was going to be the outcome, but in that moment, I have never wanted to walk around and just be like, you don't know how long this took? Fucking kids! Like, just, like, let them have it. But obviously, you know, teenagers can't as much as I really would like to. But, you know, don't have to teach them for a couple weeks. This next week is just basically administrative, grading work and stuff like that. And then the week after, I get to have spring break. Woo! Then I'm filling with Magic stuff and recordings. And I'm going to try to watch a show and take a nap. But, yeah. The first tournament up, though, that I'm going to is going to be in Oakland. I believe I've mentioned that, but if I haven't, it's going to be in Oakland. It's going to be this Saturday. But to do that, I'm going to be driving up, so I had to go by and take care of some business, notably with the DMV. They were extraordinarily slow at sending me my registration sticker, to the point where it is March 25th, and I paid for it in November because I was a good boy. And it never got to me. So, God bless AAA. Highly recommend. Big fan. Went over there, and they took care of it in minutes. So that $100 a year price to have that security of oh shit, you know, something bad happens, I can always, you know, I've got this number I can call with basically that'll always solve it. Also comes with this great benefit that I learned I didn't learn it like the other day, but I learned it a while back that they have these offices that you can go in and they can take care of a lot of like the DMV stuff in very quick order with considerably better surroundings and better personnel that aren't regarding every life decision that led them to that juncture. So I went in, said, here's what I need to do. They said, okay, take a seat. I was like, okay, am I going to look on the screen for, you know, my number, my name? Like, oh no, we'll call you by name. And they did. They said, Isaac? I was the only person sitting there. It took like a minute, went up, explained my problem. She goes, okay, we need to fill this out. Showed her the paperwork. She goes, oh, no, you need to do this. And super nice. Took, you know, seconds. You know, got my registration, got my address fixed, which if you've tried to use the DMV website or call them is a fucking nightmare. I literally waited on hold, waited on hold, got put on a call list for the DMV twice to then get, in quotes, called back, but it went straight to voicemail and never had a chance to pick up the phone. Don't know how the fuck that happened, but yeah. It's about how I feel. So yeah, highly recommend AAA. They're the business. Love you. If you ever want any more advertising, AAA, holla at your boy. I will do it for pennies on the dollar. While we're talking about cars, went in, got my oil changed again, being responsible, taking a long trip. Friends don't want to get stranded or nothing. And is it just me? Or does like Jiffy Lube and those like major corporations that run, in quote, oil change shops try to just shaft you when you come in? Like every time I go in, I don't know if it's the local oil change places are doing the Lord's work, or they're, you know, not doing anything and just charging you $70 and saying, yep, car's good, and sending you on your way. But when I go into a local place, it's quick, it's nice. They let you know if there's a problem. Peace be upon you, on your way. And it's usually not too expensive. They let you know, hey, you know, this is getting low. Every time. And maybe it's just, you know, happenstance, but every time I go into like Jiffy Lube or any of these sumbitches, it's like, hey, we see that you're missing this and that and this and that and that. We'd like an arm and a leg, and it would be highly recommended if you gave us your firstborn child. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is, man, but I just can't. I just can't with them. I feel like I'm always getting just shafted 2 ways from Tuesday. It's just bad. Holla at me at Like Ikes on Twitter or passionandpeevespodcast@gmail.com if you've had the same or a very opposite experience, or know why one of those is that way and the other isn't, or you know what I mean. And last up, a bit of great news. Going to Disneyland over spring break. Dan Milkman and now Amy Milkman, friends and guests of the pod, are coming down, and we're all going to go to Disneyland. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully. Gonna have a turkey leg. More on that in like 3 weeks. Today with me, I have a friend of a friend. I believe this was recommended. This was a guest recommended by Ingrid. We had a blast. The guest I have today is Drew. We had some hilarious hijinkery and laughs galore. So please enjoy my podcast and my interview with Drew. Okay, folks. Today you are in for a treat. With me, I have the co-president of the Scarsdale High School 2006 Dodgeball Club, the first place in the first grade Halloween window painting contest. He's built his own non-IKEA furniture, worked on 33 shows in 365 days, and a dresser of Sir Bill Gates. It's Drew Rahimi!
Yeah, that's quite the intro. You know, I feel so warm and welcomed right now.
Well, you're gonna have to live up to it now, so be ready. First off, we need to know first concert, best concert.
Ooh, first concert was in 5th grade when my mom got like tickets through her company to S Club 7 and LFO. Like, I don't know if you remember either of those bands. S Club 7 was a British pop band that they tried to bring to America. It just didn't work out. And then LFO had like two hits for like the late 90s, and then they just disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Now, best concert.
Best concert. I mean, I went to the EDC, the first EDC in New York. So on the East Coast, so I guess that would probably be it. But it's not just like, I guess that's not really a concert. It's like a whole bunch of concerts. So, but I'm going to say
what was your
that
favorite
was like
act that was at that first E? Yeah, that's amazing. What was your favorite act, or one that you remember the most?
I don't remember that like one group the most, but it's like, it was kind of like, so I'm giant. I'm 6'6", so it's like I could see anyone at the stage from any location. And I was just like,
yeah.
And you know, it was just, the visuals were just blew me away, and I had never seen anything like it. So there was not one band that stood out. It was just like, it was
The
just
whole
very funny
experience.
because I was, yeah, and like, we weren't completely sober, but it was also like, there was also this little guy who was like 5'3", who was kind of freaking me out because he was just like, "Hey, can you help me see up there?" And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable about lifting a grown man onto my shoulders. No, thank you. But I felt really bad because, like, he deserved to see the stage. But I mean, like, I'm not gonna, I shouldn't have to go out of my way just for, to help some guy
Yeah,
just
it's
because he's
super.
shorter than I am.
That's super awkward for sure.
Yeah. So,
If you were a condiment, which do you think you'd be?
hummus. Hummus. I'm going with hummus.
Ooh, love it. That is a very underutilized answer. Dig it. Wait, is there a specific kind of hummus that you would, you think you'd be, or just generic hummus? Not that there's anything wrong with generic hummus.
I
Generic
mean,
hummus
like
is amazing.
you said like now I think you said generic hummus, which I like. Who thinks of themselves as generic? But you're like I would have said normal hummus or plain hummus,
Okay,
but I guess
apologies.
now they don't sound
I'm not
enticing either.
plain hummus is probably more the least offensive way to refer to hummus.
Yeah,
I am not a
I guess I don't
purveyor
know.
of
I don't know.
said. That's great.
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
love
I
that
think you know what.
though.
I'm not gonna tie myself down to one type of hummus because it's an emotional state. Like if when I'm like fiery red, it's the roasted red pepper. But sometimes you need that taste with the sting, and you're like, I'm garlic today, bro. You know.
Do you have a preferred thing to
So
dip when there's a hummus plate? Is there a particular like cracker or accoutrement surrounding it that you're a big fan of dipping into the hummus?
lately I've just been using it for sandwiches. So that's like
Ooh,
that's my go-to at
yeah.
the moment because like put it and some vegetables when I feel like being a healthy person for a little bit because like I work on film sets and like there's nothing healthy about a film set. It's like it's too many cigarettes. It's all like everything's got like fried and bacon and all that stuff and like sometimes you just need a cleanse. So it's like this is my go-to thing, my go-to sandwich when I'm home because it's like to battle the years of destroying my body on film sets.
Well, since we're talking about
Yeah.
film, do you have a favorite movie line that you like to quote?
Oh my God. So when I'm breaking up with someone, I really like to go with the last line of Fight Club, which is, "You've met me in a weird time in my life," and no one's realized it yet.
I love how you have that. How
But
many times have you broken up with people that you have a to go breakup line?
and it's not that as often as like that makes it sound, but it comes in handy because no one wants to hear the "it's you, it's me" nonsense. But like,
Mhm.
you met me at a weird time in my life makes people think that you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, it takes the onus off them.
Uh,
It puts it on you in this way that is like relatable but obscure enough that it doesn't require too much more like explaining.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love I love the
Yeah.
line. I love the movie. I love the utilization. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I
Oh.
also like
Have you?
there's this line from Pineapple Express where whenever the term friendship comes up, I go friendship first, then teamwork. No one ever gets it, and but like
That's a deep
those
cut.
are my like go-to. Yeah, those are my go-tos. Why?
I
What are
thought I
yours?
thought you were gonna hit me with the dinner's gonna be cold tonight, bitch. Line from
No,
Pineapple Express. Like, I mean, I guess.
no, because that's the thing is you can't quote lines to people that are easy, or else you just seem unoriginal. But like
Yeah,
people think
it's
that
gotta be
you're
a
a
deep
little
cut.
more. Yeah, well, they think you're a little
Yeah.
more intelligent because you're narrowing in your reference, and
Hmm.
because most of the time they'll recognize this from something, but they won't recognize what it's from.
Yeah, love it. Well, while we're kind of on the topic, is there any media, whether it be book, graphic novel, TV show, or even movie that you've been putting off that is next on your to consume list that you just can't wait to break open?
Not at the moment. I mean, like over the last month and a half or so, I got off of most social media. And I've actually just been doing that, like as a way to calm down and make myself
Nice.
focus more. I've been reading a lot.
What have you? Is there anything of that last month that you've been kind of going through, that back catalog you've been going through that you'd recommend?
If you like DC comic books, there's this title, these titles called Year One, where it's kind of a reimagining of the origin stories of popular characters, and I'm finding that they're all pretty good. Like the new Batman movie, the one with Twilight dude,
Robert Pattinson.
Okay,
AKA
I said what I said.
Twilight dude.
You know, the man's made his entire career off being bat-like, so I'm not, I guess I shouldn't say his entire career, but like, I feel like 10 years ago when I first heard about him, he was a vampire.
Like, most people know about him for that, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you either know about him because
great.
like he was a vampire, or you know about it because he plays a bat guy character. No one's gonna be like, oh, that's Robert Pattinson from that Lighthouse movie. That's the only thing I know him from. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, his Batman movie is based off Year One, so it's like, okay, if you like that kind of stuff, then that's where to try it out. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna hit you with a hypothetical. You're going out to a party, and you want to look radical. Other than your normal attire, what accessory do you add to your ensemble to really stand out in a good way?
I have this it's a fake baseball team in Tokyo, a Heiori that's based around the fake baseball team. So it's a baseball themed Heiori, and it's awesome. And it depends on what kind of like it depends on the party level, because like I have my everyday shoes, my special shoes. And these are all sneakers, and then like I'm really trying to impress people's shoes. So that's my matchup, my Heiori and whatever. I guess it really just matters how fancy of a party. Like I don't go to parties with suits anymore. Like,
and why would you?
Those
parties suck. Yeah.
I know, right? They always make me feel like a funeral's happening.
Like, they are. It's just the party that's dying.
Right? Yeah.
That's what needs to get buried.
Because it's always with people that you don't really see that often, and all you're doing is catching up and eating and drinking, and it's just like that's what you do.
There's no fun times being had.
Oh.
Yeah, you're just exchanging the last month's worth of info. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, ugh.
What's your favorite non-exercise thing you have to force yourself to do?
Non-exercise thing that I don't know, go to work, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that I have to force myself to do. I mean, like, I don't really know. Yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, that's a great answer.
Like I like work sometimes, but like even in a perfect world, I'd never go to work. And I mean, in a perfect world, I'd never wear pants again.
I'm liking your perfect world more and more, sir.
Yeah, so, right. Who wants to wear
you said
pants?
that you worked on. Yeah, exactly. You said you worked on film sets. Do you have a specific area of expertise, one that you usually do, or are you kind of like a jack of all trades when it comes to film?
I'm becoming more of a jack of all trades. I've done like 3 or 4 core things on film. I've PA'd mostly, which is a production assistant, which helps with the organization of film. But I don't have like one specific thing that I'm really known for. Like, actually, if you see the movie Inside Game with Will Sasso, there's like all these scenes where, because it was not a union film, where I'm just driving, doing what I shouldn't be doing. Like they got rented a minivan and I'm driving it throughout a cornfield, or like there's this bridge that they had us drive over, and they're like, just turn around on the bridge so we can get it again. I'm like, okay, like this is super illegal. And so like there's like a lot of little random shit that goes into film that's you just kind of have to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
Someone else. Yeah. It's gonna happen.
What's the part of the job that you don't mind? You said like you don't like going to work. What's the job on set that you most enjoy driving to, or it doesn't bother you as much driving to work to do?
You know what? That question I don't think is quite answerable, because it's like it depends on your project, really. Some projects run you into the ground. There was one week I worked 100 hours, but it's like if I
Holy
feel like I'm part
shit.
of it, yeah. If I feel like I'm working with a team and I feel like supported and heard and vice versa, and like people I can help and people who help me, then that's the enjoyable part. Because like all these projects, they're all temporary. So it's like, you know, you could be stuck with a terrible crew for 3 to 6 months, but then like you could also be stuck with people who become your best friends. I mean, I there's still people from like shows a year ago or 2 years ago that I still regularly try to hang out with. But there's also inversely, there's people who I just worked with last 2 weeks who are not people that I want to see ever again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not one aspect. It's also just like, also who do you like to work for? You know, like, cause it's not like a regular 9 to 5. So it's like, if you really respect the person you're working for, then, and like you think that they have something to teach you, then they're, you know, kind of the thing that excites you about going to work.
Yeah, that tracks. I just recently listened to an interview with Ryan Johnson, the director of Knives Out, and he was talking about how he like basically works with the same crew. Like a lot of like his producers are the same, his this is that is like always the same. And having the way you're talking about working with people, it's like, yeah, of course, like if you call the shots, you want to work with the same people. Like once you find the good fit, like why the fuck would you work with anybody else? So, like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
totally
also, yeah, because you kind of live with these people, and like in the post-COVID world, things have changed. We used to get breaks in between episodes, and now because of COVID, we don't. So it used to be a little more tolerable. Now it's like you have to make sure you get along with people, or you have to, or just find a different project. You know? Yeah. This isn't, you know, these people, like, you know, I'll leave my house at 4:30 in the morning, and I'll come back at 10:30 at night some days, or midnight, or whatever it is, and then you turn around in 5-6 hours, you do it again. I mean, like, it sounds horrible, but I get paid a decent amount of money, and like I get to be outside most of the time.
And sometimes he even likes it.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I do. I've had other jobs, and it's like I don't, and like, you know, most atmospheres suck. Most jobs suck. I mean, like I've worked for some of the richest people in the country, and that's never fun. And like, you know, I've covered sports.
Yeah,
and
I mentioned in the intro that you addressed Bill Gates as sir. How did that come about?
Well, so I was working at the General Assembly, and I was following a French delegate who desperately wanted to meet Bill Gates. And we went up to him, and I was just like, and he was like, brushed us off, and I was like, I love the Microsoft Zune. And he turns around, and I'm like, I'm not sarcastic. And I pulled out my Microsoft Zune. And so then we had a conversation, and I was like, he was like knighted, and I just learned that he was knighted. So I was like, Sir Bill. And he was like, why are you calling me Sir Bill? And I was like, because you've been knighted, you know? And then he's just like, we had a little moment. But yeah, so like after that moment, like every time I'd see him, it'd be like, Sir Bill, wave, hi, and that's that. Because like,
how was he in your brief interaction? Recommend
he was
hanging
really
out with Bill
nice.
Gates?
He was really nice, but here's the thing, and I don't know if I should say this out in public because he'll have me murdered. But like he later in the day, like I went to the bathroom, and he was just finishing up. He didn't wash his hands, and like he's at the UN to shake people's hands. Like he's not there to like, he's there to meet people and shakes people. So it's
maybe
just
that's why
there's
he
like
did
a
it.
level. I know, right? And I'm like,
maybe it was like a power play.
Hand.
He's like, fuck all these guys, and just like intentionally like went to use the bathroom and just didn't wash his hands.
Yeah, well, it's like that's like a level of like what a jerk kind of level, because it's like you're just there to shake hands, right?
Yeah.
He's a billionaire who's like fighting climate change and all these great things, and then it's just like, yeah, well,
can't be bothered to wash his hands
because that's
he's
the
got
thing.
places
It's like,
to be hands to shake even.
Yeah, I mean, like, because that's also like one of the things is like, as a person who just shook his hand, is like, do I wash my hand? Because like you don't want to wash when you meet someone like that. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you don't want to like, you're like, you meet someone great, you're like, oh, you have that feeling of I'm never gonna wash this again, but then you're like, how much shit has touched my hand, you know? So yeah, But he's a nice guy. I mean, like, I worked on the Bloomberg presidential campaign, and that guy was very curmudgeoned, I would say. So, like, there's like some, like, I've met a handful of billionaires in my life, and some of them are really approachable, and they're normal people who are like, yeah, I just happen to be the richest man in the world. And other people are just like very much like they don't see you because of your wealth. Like, it's not even they're looking down upon you. It's just you're kind of there.
You just don't exist because, like I don't need to talk to you, ergo, like, you're not present.
Yeah. Inversely, though, if you ever get to meet a billionaire and you want them to do something, make sure there's cameras around, because, like, I made Bloomberg shake my hand because it was at a press conference, and I was like, you can't say no to me right now. And, like,
That's
I had
awesome.
been in his office working on his campaign. He had walked by me, never said anything. Even like a good morning for weeks. And then, like, I was like, yeah, right now you're trapped with me, you know? So that's the
You had like you had a Watchmen moment. You're just like, you're trapped in here with me.
yeah, exactly. This is my time, you know?
And then I killed him with a toilet.
Yeah.
Who's someone you've never met, alive or dead, that you'd like to have lunch with?
Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby is
great choice.
If I don't know if people know Jack Kirby is, the quick summation is he's like the he is the illustrator and basically concept drawer for most of Marvel Comics' biggest hits. I mean, he drew Captain America during World War II. He's also for, you know, like, he is huge in the Jewish community. He fought for the United States military in World War II. He helped create the X-Men, which I think is just like such a groundbreaking story, and I think a great way to teach kids about racism, which I don't think it really gets enough credit for. You know, I think, like, every school special, it didn't matter. Like, I don't care what any school special tells me how to treat people. I'm not going to listen to that. But when Cyclops tells me to treat people normally, even if they're different, then I listen.
Yeah. I didn't know he served. That's so cool.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter, but it does at the same time. That's so rad. It's also a great choice, and somebody that doesn't get even, like, Stanley, goated for sure. Great, like, did a lot of great things. That being said, the fact that Jack Kirby does not get mentioned in the same breath, even remotely similarly, is just bullshit. Guy,
it's kind of weird.
He's the other half. He's the Wozniak of, you know, not that that's a fair comparison just because of all the other stuff that goes with it, but he is kind of like the Steve Wozniak of Apple for Marvel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
somebody
just
that did
like,
all the work and got none of the praise.
Yeah, none of the accolades. Like, his name comes second on any movie billing, and I mean, he died in the early '90s, so I think it was just like he died right before it all came across.
Yeah, started popping off.
You know, like, even George Lucas, when he created Star Wars, would pick up Jack Kirby's title, The New Gods, and be like, we need to make something like this. You know, there's direct comparisons between Cloud City and New Genesis. You know, the design is the same.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, the second you say that, obviously, like, just like looking at it,
all
like,
clicks.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah. When you read a story about a guy who's a god who's trying to fight his father, and you're like, and it's a secret that it's his father until it's revealed, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, it's like, then it's the same story. But, like, yeah, it takes the moment of,
Where
like,
would
where would I take him?
Where would you take Jack Kirby if you could take him to lunch?
I think a deli, because he's Jewish. I think he's like an old school Jewish too.
Yeah, take him to Cats.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe not Cats, because it's a bit like too fancy. It's too much
mainstream.
of a stop for people. Yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, a nice bagel place. Get some locks. You know. I don't know. I think it would just be, like, so cool. Like, just to, because I met Stanley once growing up, and like, I gotta tell you, like, I think he gets a little too much credit. Like, he's not that good of a writer, but he made great creations. And whereas Jack Kirby can do both, and, like, you can clearly tell the comics he's worked on because of, like, certain aspects of the writing and all that stuff.
If not just the art itself, his art.
Yeah, exactly.
If you Google Jack Kirby, you will see his art and go, oh yeah, my childhood. Like it
Yeah.
is just so much of it is like a lot of people, and I'm not even saying this negatively, but a lot of people mimic their style after him because he was just so influential that you could not. It's like people like it's like he's like the George Carlin for comedians of, you know, like creating comics. Like so much of comic drawing style, everything was influenced by him. He's just the OG.
I am a little surprised you know about him so well. Not many people do. Yeah.
I grew up with some hipster comic book shop owners, and they set us straight.
But yeah, no, like even you watch Thor Ragnarok, you can see his influence in like all the set design on Thor Ragnarok. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Do you have a life hack you'd like to share with the class to improve their daily living?
So there's like a rich guy life hack, which like if you have money, right? It's if you have like money and you ever want to skip a line to anything, you just go to someone in the front of the line and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna buy you whatever it is you're there to buy. If you just get a second one for me," and then like that's like how I've always been able to skip lines. It costs literally twice as much as whatever you're doing, but that's like a
if time is
great
money.
life. Yeah, because like I think it's one of those things where it's like when you work a lot, your time is very valuable, and and it's like I don't have like you work to amass this money. It's like I don't have much time to spend that money, so I might as well spend it, you know, well
as quickly as I can.
Not even as quickly as I can, because there's like you can definitely you can go to a casino and spend all your money immediately. It's not about like the quickness of spending your money. It's just like how you make it so everything's like you're spending it so you're spending it so you have more time.
Yep.
Basically.
You want to find that balance of utilizing your money that you spent the time on and the time that you have to spend your money. What about for us poor schmucks? What's the life hack? Those pores.
It's the opposite. It's get to lines early. You know, because like that's the thing is like
maybe somebody will buy you something. if
no, it's just like there's so much money to be made off anything there's a line. Like there's so many shoe drops. You just buy like I'm a size 14, but even in my poorest days, I once bought like a size 12 shoe and resold online to a collector for quadruple the amount of money. And it's just like if you're poor and you don't have a job, then it's like I would just go wait online for things for people, you know. That professional line waiting is an easy way to make sales while being able to research other things. Like you can be on your phone and send out resumes while you're doing nothing.
Well, other than that, is there a life lesson you wish you learned sooner?
Don't care less about what other people think, but that's a generic one. Don't wear shoes on an airplane. Wear flip-flops or sandals.
Yes.
Because because here's the thing is like anyone who takes their shoes off in an airplane is a bad person. But if you're not wearing real shoes, then you get around that.
You said it with no amount of indignation. It was just complete fact. They're just a bad person. It's just completely flat.
They are. It's true. It's like think about how many times you've been on like an airplane. It's a small, condensed place. A lot of Americans don't fit properly on them because of weight issues. I'm a big, broad-shouldered guy. It's really hard for me to fit on airplanes a lot of the times. And it's just like, okay, well, you want to relax, and it's like, who the hell relaxes with shoes on? That's ridiculous. Like, it's the only place in common world where you're supposed to sleep with shoes on. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't even remotely make sense. And so like, yeah, you would just like wear flip flops. Put your shoes in a check bag because by the time, no matter where you're going, like if you're going to even another country, it's like you'll be able to take your shoes out when you get there. And even if they lose your luggage, it's like okay, well you're in another country, you'll get shoes cheaply.
Well, since we're talking about such an item, what inanimate object would you be best friends with were it sentient?
Well, I was gonna say my motorcycle, but it was literally just stolen 4 days ago. So
no.
Yeah, no. The thieves left me a piece of my handlebar, and I twirl it in my hands now when I'm thinking.
Oh.
So
I
would say
hope you get it back.
So do I. But I don't know.
I'll bet.
I'd say a motorcycle would probably be, because I think like of people who are really into motorcycles, it's not like a car. Like so much of a motorcycle is determined by you. Like if you turn the car on and put it in drive, it'll drive itself. Like it might crash, but it will drive itself. You can't say the same thing for a motorcycle. It needs you to operate just as much as you need it to go somewhere.
That's so true. So in this atrocious moment when your motorcycle was stolen, if perhaps a grandmother came along, in lieu of a fuck or goddamn son of a bitch, what would be your favorite non-traditional curse word to utter to not raise the ire of said grandmama?
Well, I don't know if it'd be a traditional curse word because, like, I feel like you're just like in those moments, I think it's an insult rather than a curse word to say to someone. You know, like there's no way I could think less of you, kind of thing. I'm trying to think of a nondescript curse word. You know, I think
it can be descriptive. It just needs to be non-traditional.
Oh, sorry, non-traditional curse word. I mean, I think I just like default if I'm trying to like pass the grandma test. I think I just default back to like being a child and saying shnikes or something like that. And like
totally and like, no, I love like, it. Shnikes is underutilized to the max. I haven't heard that since the 90s, and I am sad that is the case, although I'm so glad to hear it uttered yet again. Shnikes. Yeah. Oh, I missed you, Shnikes. Oh. It could be that should be a sneaker brand, to be honest. I would buy a new pair of Shnikes every week.
Well, I remember me and my older sister, we thought we made it up, and then like they said it in Spy Kids, and then we were just blown away by like, how did they steal this from us? Like, we need to like contact our senator, our local congressman, and get to the bottom of this.
That's a movie I'd watch. You trying to sue Spy Kids for the use of shnikes.
Yeah.
It's copyright infringement, damn it.
Yeah, because they're like, and then they said shiitake mushrooms, and they're like, what? Someone in school did that. How are they doing this? and then realizing,
we can't let them keep getting away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, while we're in the area of film, who would you want to play you in a movie of your life? You can choose the time period of your life and the time period of the actor portraying you.
I think I would go with young Will Ferrell back when he was in the 90s during Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, like his SNL days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think early 20s. Yeah, actually, I think I can get that or Chevy Chase. But I'd want old Chevy Chase from Community to play a young version of me, because I've always thought it'd be very funny.
That would be hilarious. What would be the movie arc for your character? What happened in your 20s that should be showcased?
Just leaving school, leaving college, and bumming around and having to figure out how to make money, and like dealing with parents that didn't quite understand it. Like now, I mean, like my mom's come around and respect what I do, but it took a long time to get to my career to this point, especially without a college degree. So like, I think that would have been interesting. But I also think it's just like, I don't know, we all have our coming of age moments, and that's like, in a way, our most interesting time.
Yeah. I could not agree more with everything you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like you've been doing this podcast for 2 years. Let's say it takes off. Like, that's an interesting moment in your life, but it's probably not the most interesting thing. Like, even if you became like a household name off this podcast, I'd say arguably your biggest win was probably happened, when you decided to become yourself rather than the accolades brought on by work you do.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had like a mild heart attack. That was just too big for me to fully understand. I had to take a moment there. That was insane. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, but holy shit. Jesus. Yeah. The truth bombs, they hit deep.
Yeah, I like your reaction.
To deflect.
Yeah.
What's your favorite meal? What's your favorite meal to make just for yourself, assuming cost and time are not relevant factors?
Lobster bisque and a baguette. I think it's a simple, delicious, fatty meal that's just like can be enjoyed anywhere. And I think it's one of those things where it's like I can eat lobster bisque cold, and it's just like you pack it and go somewhere. And you know, I've had lobster bisque on the rooftop of buildings. I've had it in restaurants, and you know, I've had it on the beach. And I think it's just like it's a moment. It's one of
Where
those
does it
things
taste
you
best?
just it tastes best where I don't know, wherever you want to be. Like I hate being in restaurants, so I'm gonna say even the best lobster bisque in a restaurant is tainted by the fact that the chairs are made too small for me and the table is cutting into my sides. But yeah, it's just I'd say on a rooftop after a rainy day when the sun's about to come out.
Yeah. I feel that.
Like I like how I feel like I'm giving you a lot of information. You're like, what do I do? Yeah.
No. I see my mind when you said that. My mind painted a picture. I was like, yeah, like that sounds fucking rad. Like I don't even fuck with lobster bisque really. Like it's fine. It's not my cup of tea. But if somebody's like, yo, I am on this rooftop. It just, you know, the sun's about to come out. I've got a second bowl of lobster bisque and, you know, a baguette. Come up and hang with me. I'd be like, I'm there. Like that sounds like like my favorite, for instance, my favorite food experience I think I've ever had, and it probably wasn't even that good, but it was the experience itself was, I can't remember if I was in London or if I was in Manchester, England, but I was with my mom. We had gone out shopping at a local mall and it was raining. It's pouring rain. And we needed something to eat. We under this umbrella and we go up and there's this like food truck and they were selling baked potatoes. And I got a baked potato. I think my mom ordered it for me because I was in high school. I didn't know good food from bad. And she ordered me a baked potato with cheese, with cheddar and cottage cheese. And I remember eating it with my mom underneath an umbrella while it's pouring down rain in England. And I've never been able to replicate that experience ever since. And it wasn't the food. I mean, sure, the food was fine, but it was the whole entire circumstance that surrounded it. And that's what the way you're talking about lobster bisque on a rooftop after the rain, the sun's coming, you know, that whole entire thing that creates it. You know, it's kind of like a song isn't the crescendo, it's the lead up to that moment. And the way you're talking about that is just like, fuck yeah. Like it's just the way it just like hits you like this emotional Mack truck of bliss.
Yeah, I think well, food is one of those things where it's like really underrated in the fact that it's really just like meant to share a moment with another person, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And why I go with lobster bisque and bread is like because that's a dipping food. Like it's not something to eat also by yourself. It's like something to share. And it's like that's the moment that you just described with your mother is the same thing. Is it's like it didn't really matter that it was a baked potato with cheese and other cheese. It was with your mom in this dire situation in another country and something you'll never do kind of again in that sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like now you're
I'd love to stay in I'd love to stay. Yeah, I'd love to stay in this moment. But the next question, what poor man luxury, while we're on the topic of food, what poor man luxury do you still enjoy to this day?
I don't know. I think the fact that building my own furniture, right? Because like I am a big person, as I've said, and I've broken a lot of furniture by accident. And like 2 weeks ago, I designed a desk, and now it's part of my life. And I built it, and it folds out of the wall, kind of like a Murphy bed, and it has a lot of file folders and this stuff. But that's something I learned when I was like really poor, because like you had to learn how to just do things to make it work. Like being useless is a luxury of the rich.
Being useless is a luxury of the rich, yeah.
And so, like, I still enjoy. It's like one of those things where I enjoy making stuff. And I made a coffee table over the summer with my uncle because he's a better craftsman than I am. And like those are another bonding moment. But yeah, I think building stuff is just like so useful. And like on a film set, I made a rainmaker, this thing that can simulate rain inside. And it was just because the director asked for it and he made it happen. Yeah.
How did you go about designing this desk? Did you use like was this like kind of, old know-how and you just kind of did it? Was there like a program? Did you like draw it out? What's the process for somebody like myself who has no idea what goes into like building something like that?
Okay, well, the first thing you need to do is identify that you have a problem. And like my bedroom is kind of small. And I had a drafting table that wasn't working, and you'd have to prop a piece of wood under it to make it stand up. So like the problem is like I need something to save space, and I need a desk. So it's like the first thing you do is you identify a problem, and then after that, you kind of look around and figure out what you can do to make it. So it's like there isn't like a program you could do. You just kind of have to identify what you want to do, and then you work from there. Because like the reality is you can go to if you wanted to build something, let's say you wanted to build yourself shelves, right? Like you designed it by that's how you just go to a local hardware store and you talk to people. Like I wouldn't buy everything from the local hardware store because they'll charge you like crazy amounts of money, but their knowledge is like super useful, and they're all people who are just really psyched to really just talk to another person, because in the era of Home Depot, Lowe's, and Amazon, they don't get many people, coming to see them. And then you just kind of, follow, you just go online, you search out how other people did it, and you just copy what you like. And yeah, that's basically it.
That's so cool.
There's no real guide for it.
Yeah, there's no cheat code. There's no crypt sheet or anything like that. There is just doing it. When did you first build? So, like, what do you remember the first thing you ever like built?
The first big thing I think I built was a loft bed that I made for myself. That I was like, I have all this shit, and I know where to store it, and my room was always a mess. And I was like, let's put a loft bed. Let's put it all under. And I was like, and I went online, and no one sold queen size bed loft beds. And I'm like, why? Why does no adult want to sleep in a bunk bed? And so I built that, and then it's still around to this day. It's like 5 years old at this point. And it's very sturdy and still works. But I think that was like kind of the first big thing that I did.
That's so cool. Did you have like a lot of experience doing like small fixer-uppery things, or is this like, screw it, how hard this can be? How hard can this be? And it wasn't actually that hard, or like, how did you go from?
Yeah, no, I'm so arrogant, and I'm so arrogant. I think I can do anything. And like a lot of people tell me,
so far,
I'm
sounding
arrogant,
like you're not too far off.
You're complimenting my building, not calling me arrogant. For a second, I was like, you're not too far off. I was like, yeah, I guess I am arrogant. Other people now. If you have the confidence to do, like, the failure in most people is not that they can't do anything. It's that they can't believe they can't do anything, in my opinion. And like, so when people come to me at work and they're like, I have a problem, I don't know how to fix it. Like, you could just give up, or like you could just figure a way and make it happen by the seat of your pants. And that's kind of the same thing is like, so I'd have a whole thing of like, you have to make little things work temporarily at work and then disassemble them and move them around. And then it came to my own life where it's just like, my own life's a mess. And it's like, well, how do I, add order into this chaotic world? And it's like, well, you realize that furniture is not really made for people. It's not really made for everyday people, because like IKEA furniture is made for IKEA rooms, which it's like we don't, like, no one has a standard room, so it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, I just started doing it, and you just get better over time. And I do have an uncle who's like a Graves craftsman who will walk me through stuff.
Oh, and I also have this cheat code that is
yeah. Well, because like I'll be like, this is my idea, and then he'll be like, all right, but I would change this, that, and this, and I'll be like, no, I like this, that, and that, and so it's a big argument for about a week, and then eventually we settle on something, and I do it. But he lives in Canada, so it's not like he's like down the street from me,
Yeah. While we're on the topic of a different profession, what's a job that at some point in your life you wanted to pursue but are very glad you didn't
Glad I didn't.
either get or
Cop,
were
I
able
guess.
or end up pursuing?
Cop, I guess I'm glad I didn't become
You
a
want to be
cop.
a
At
cop
some
at one
point, I
point?
feel like, well, I feel like at some point most people want to be a cop. You know, when you're a kid, you're like, oh wow,
Yeah.
because you're only told about like three jobs: firefighter, cop, or a doctor,
Yeah.
or like scientist. Like the
Yeah,
four
yeah.
jobs that all kids know.
The
You're
three
like,
job food
well, the
groups.
older, yeah, exactly, like the food pyramid of jobs given to children. And I'm like, well, glad I didn't become a cop. You know, they're terrible people. No. Um,
Only 98% of them.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've worked with a lot of good cops over the years, but like, there's a laziness about them that really annoys me. Like, they're like, well, that's not my part of my job. And you're like, all right, you're still a guy with a gun. You should stop these people harassing other people. And they're just like, well, no, I'm supposed to work in narcotics or whatever, or I work on film sets. And you're like, yeah, like there's the amount of times that like I've had to be on movie sets and something's been stolen and the cops were like, well, let me get the other cops that deal with this. And you're like, no, you're a cop. You're like,
But you're
go
right here.
save our generator. Like, yeah, it's not.
Go save our generator.
Yeah, go save our generator. You know, like,
I know.
these
I
are
just
real
got this
things.
mental picture of it since we were talking about superheroes. Like the villain has your generator up on a roof, and he's like, "Don't move." The generator gets
Yeah.
it. You're like, "Go save it!" And the
Go
generator's
save it,
screaming like
cop
a
man.
damsel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cop Man. I would read that comic. Cop Man,
Yeah.
distributor of evenly forced justice.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I think that's it. It's like and I partially, I'm not going to blame the police, but I think that, you know, whatever system they're in
Yeah.
is probably beating out any ideals they had when they came into the job. And now they're just kind of
Yeah,
like, we're in it
that
for
sounds
20
about right.
years, and yeah. So it's unfortunate.
But what
But yeah.
not unfortunate is, what song would you like listeners of the podcast to hear?
If you haven't heard Peter Gabriel's Salisbury Hill, I think that's something that everyone should really listen to, and not just like have in the background, but like really listen to the lyrics, because Peter Gabriel, for those who don't know, was part of the group Genesis with Phil Collins, and when they had a terrible breakup to the point where like 40 years later they're still not getting back together. And there's just moments in this song where he's just like, there's like lines where he's just like talking about giving everything away and just like moving on. It's a song about like, you can have, like, one of the lyrics is like, you can have my things, they've come to take me home. And it's just like these moments of leaving the past behind, and we all have had those moments where you have to walk away from the wreckage of your life, you know,
Yeah.
because without ashes the phoenix would just be a dumb bird.
Okay. Without ashes, the phoenix would just be a dumb bird. Oh my god. That's going on a shirt. Oh, and with that little juicy tidbit, we're going to throw it to our first break. Feel free to stick around and enjoy the totally real commercial, or take a minute to enjoy Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel. Or if you really wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, just check out the playlist on Spotify, Passionate People and Preposterous Peeps podcast, Song Rex. It's a long title, I know. But don't worry, there's a link in the description. Either way, see you in a jiffy. Do you need 100 pounds of butter? Come on down to Company Street Company. What if I need 30 gallons of olive oil? Come on down to Company Street Company. But what if I just want one flatless bird roasted for a reasonable price? Come on down to Company Street Company. Okay, but just come on down to Company Street Company. We have everything for a better price, free snacks, and employees who don't want to kill themselves or you because we treat them like fucking human beings. Yeah, but yup. Even just get your ass down to Company Street Company, where the only sketchy thing we've ever done is enable frozen orange juice hoarders. Welcome back, everybody. So, Drew, what is your passion?
It's a comedy mostly. I do a fair amount of improv. I just spent this whole weekend filming 6 comedy sketches. Um, I just like I've always thought myself as a funny person. So yeah, I'd
Can't
say
confirm.
that's my overall. Can't confirm. Check.
I said can confirm, sorry.
Oh, then never mind. I apologize for calling you a jackass. No. Um, uh, it looks like I picked up a couple of whoopsie daisies.
Would you consider yourself more a comedian or more like a comedic film creator?
See, I don't really see the difference, because like if you tell stand up, then you're a stand up comedian, right? If you do improv,
Mm-hmm.
you're an improv comedian. If you act funny, you're a comedic actor. But
Mm-hmm.
like all of those are just branches of the same tree. So like any one of those 3 answers could be like I'm a comedian, you know. Judd Apatow, Adam
Oh, okay.
McKay are both comedians. They just
Yeah.
their medium is film.
Mm. What is your preferred medium when it comes to being a comedian?
Film. I think like performing in front of a live crowd can be awesome. It can be a rush and all that stuff, but just like if you can do a good film right, because like there's just so many steps into it. Like anyone can have a good night as a stand up or an improvist, and but like there's something so purposeful about film. Yeah, everything has to be a choice.
Mm.
Whereas like any
Yeah,
other
because it's like you can always reshoot it, so there ergo whatever sticks in the footage must be, intentional.
yeah, and it's like in front of a live audience is great. That's also like one of those things where um it depends on the audience, and it depends on like how your mood doing and all that stuff, and like it can be a lot of fun, but it's like also like your best night performing might not be that audience's what that audience was looking for. So it's like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it doesn't always work as a perfect storm. Whereas like a comedic like some like every comedic movie you've seen, like so many stars had to align just to make that happen. And whether people want to see it or not, I don't know. I think there's just like a more of a beauty to it.
Totally. When did you, so to roll back time, when did you first get interested in comedy and especially comedic filmmaking?
1996, Cameron Diaz was hosting at Saturday Night Live, and there was a moment where I think it was 96, where Will Ferrell is playing Fred Friendship on a train show, and all the other, and then he has the letter F on his chest, and all the other, the members of this what's supposed to be a child show have U, C, and K, and like the train conductor is played by Tim Meadows, has to spend the entire sketch making sure that they don't spell, the word, it's
Yeah.
not too hard to figure out. Um, so that was just like kind of an eye-opening moment. Whereas like, cause like as a kid, you're like,
Yeah.
this is so stupid. There's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but it's
Mm.
hilarious. It's like, it's not complicated,
Yeah.
but it is, it has to be, it's so nuanced. Someone had to think about a kid show. Someone had to think about like a fact that it's a train kid show, and like then they had to be like, well, like like there's like it seems so dumb, but it's like there's all these silent things
Yeah.
in comedy that you see that you're like, how did these things get chosen for here?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's so cool.
and then
So
yeah,
you see that 1996. How old are you in 1996?
I don't know. I was born in '89, so 7, I think.
All right. So we're 7 years old. See this happen. We're mesmerized by it. What is the next step in your, comedic career, your comedic trajectory? What happens? What's the next thing? We watch this. We think this is hilarious.
Understanding jokes is how to craft jokes and the presentation of jokes. So there's watching a lot of stand up. There's watching a lot of movies. There's watching a lot of actors. And like, because there's the thing is like a great, I think a great example is if you watch, what's his name? He's one of the kings of comedy, not Steve Harvey or Cedric the Entertainer or DL
Bernie
Hughley.
Mac.
Bernie Mac, that's it. Yeah, if you watch Bernie Mac's first, one of his first earliest stand-up specials on Def Jam Comedy is actually his first appearance. If I were to read to you his jokes, they're not funny. It's like nothing's like a set up punchline, but it's just he came in such confidence and like such charisma, and you're just like,
you're
well,
talking about the
you
motherfuckers don't scare me, right?
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Yeah. And like, there's a moment where they're like, Bernie, what tastes better, like pussy or pumpkin pie? And he's just like,
why you ask me still a question like that?
About? Yeah, I've never had no pumpkin pie. And then he goes, kick it! And then the music comes on, and you're just like, what is this guy? And like, but like transcript, it's not funny.
No, but if you watch the tape, it is the funniest. Not only I've watched that tape like at least 6 times. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Also, the crowd is absolutely losing their shit. It clearly like connects.
Yeah. And like later on, I found out part of that joke is that apparently it's stereotypically black people don't eat pumpkin pie. and I was just like, that, I never knew that. And like, cause I'm not a black audience member. And then maybe that was part of the joke for the black audience members, but I still think it's the best 7 minutes of stand up you'll ever see in your life. So it's just like,
also apparently while we're on deep cuts, apparently before he went on, I heard through the grapevine for like other comedians through the grapevine that apparently the comedian that went on before him like bombed and the room was like terrible. Like nobody was laughing and he came on and just obliterated. I think that's why he said the line, because I don't know if it was scripted or not, but that's why he said, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers over and over and over in the set, was somewhere between like pumping himself up and kind of making a statement to the crowd that he was not to be fucked with, because apparently they were just dunking on every other comedian that had come up before him, and they were just like, boo, get off the stage, like just like not having it. And so it was kind of like his like put up or shut up moment, and he put up in the biggest way possible.
Yeah, no, it was great.
So we're little Drew, we're watching SNL, we're getting into things. When did you first do any kind of performance, whether recorded, just, you know, in front of the family?
20 years. Oh, I mean, I don't count that stuff, but when I was 20 was when I did my first stand-up routine.
Do you remember any jokes from your first stand-up?
I think there was it was so dumb. They were so bad.
Well, yeah, it was your first stand-up.
I remember they were like people laughed, and I think they were just being nice. But like, I remember talking about like signs in Manhattan, and like oh, because if you like, and I was like, I noticed you drive through like parks, you see like, oh, this is a blind child area, or this is a deaf child area, and it's like, oh, you have to assume that a deaf or a blind child lives in that area. But it's like, what happens if you have a blind and a deaf child in that area? Do they put up 2 signs, or is it a Helen Keller zone? And like, it's just like terrible jokes. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, it was like, that was the one I remember the most, being like super proud of it at the time, and then looking back, I'm like, that's so stupid. You're such a stupid person for saying that. I'm like being so confident about it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
So 20 years old, we do our first stand-up. When did we first do any kind of, whether it's behind the scenes, on the screen, filmed comedy?
I made a short film not around the same time, a little after, that was supposed to be the pilot of a television show about Hitler in high school called Mein Kampflicated Life.
Oh my God. That's so terribly hilarious. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was probably...
Oh my gosh.
And like all the school bullies were Jewish, and like they just make fun of him because of his lousy art. and like I'm like
Yeah.
no one understood him, and like it was very funny because it's also like when my friend who was played Hitler, like he would wander off because he was like a restless person. He's an actor.
Oh no.
And like, but he would forget that he'd have the Hitler mustache on. And like he'd go get coffee and be booed out of coffee places, and he'd be like, "Why is everyone doing this to me?" I'm like, "Mike, you can't go anywhere alone dressed like Hitler. You just can't."
It don't work
And
like
like
that,
the fact
homie.
that I have to remind him, "You're playing Hitler. People don't like you because you play Hitler."
That's awesome. So what made you go from trying to do stand-up to doing, like, creating a show? What, were you not enjoying stand-up? Was it,
I
is this
never
something else
enjoyed
you wanted to
stand-up.
try? Hmm?
I never enjoyed stand-up. I've never enjoyed stand-up. So I went to improv, and I liked improv for a while. But then improv kind of died in New York during COVID, so I had to stop. And also, I was working a lot. And like I always wanted to make movies because like I think there's just like something magical about movies. At least it appears to be. Like Spielberg makes, these just like makes you wonder. Like his films make you wonder about the world and like is magic real? And like I think there's just like always like I wanted to work on SNL and. I don't think that's going to pan out ever, but I've always also loved film and television. And like, I think like the best stand-up I've ever seen in the world does not compare to things like 30 Rock or Community to me. Like even New Girl, like the best sitcoms in the world. I think that's just like the height of entertainment. And I'd rather be a part of that.
Awesome. What were some of the, like, early sitcoms or written comedic shows that pushed you in that direction, that influenced you, that were your kind of watershed shows?
Cheers, Family Matters, Fresh Prince. I mean, like as a kid I liked Friends a lot, but then I think 30 Rock kind of struck close to home with me, and Scrubs were like when I was in high school. Like 30 Rock and Scrubs were like I think everything to me. Like I think I still like I got a chance to work with Tina Fey, and that was like one of the best experiences.
Oh, that's so cool. What did you work with her on?
I did the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt movie.
Oh, cool. Is she as awesome as she comes off, or is a lot of that
She's a really nice person. She's a really nice person. She's nice, she's understanding, she'll talk to you.
Sweet.
I mean, there's also like I think I would have preferred to try to work on 30 Rock if I'd gotten my shit together when I was 18 and figured out how to get onto that set, because like she even talks about like she had an interview with Seinfeld about like, well, you have this baby and it's your baby and you have to make it and you have to give it your life. And then like you kind of got the feeling every time I've seen her since on a project is that's not the case. Like these are things she's interested in, but like because film and television is so demanding and it's like such a long arduous job, at some point you have to step back and realize like I want to have kids or I want to know my children. And like that's not knocking anyone. Like Ryan Reynolds has said that recently. He's like, I'm going to take a break from filming because like I want to get to spend more time with his family. And like that's a valid thing to say. But then as a result, as the viewer, you're just kind of left like, oh man, I'm not seeing your brilliance anymore. And so it's like bittersweet to see her on other projects in real life because I know that she's not giving it the same thing she did to 30 Rock.
Yeah. And she can't. It's like she's living her life. She's being a mother. It's, like they are two worlds.
Yeah.
You cannot coexist in both. You can choose to be in one, and you can be in the other.
I know like some people kind of make it work a little more like I know assistant directors who have their parents as background so that they can have lunch with their mom and dad. And it's just like, that's a really cool thing. I've always admired of certain assistant directors. Because like one, it's like you're getting your parents out of the house and you're, like they're talking to more people and they're making some money. I don't know what their retirement's like, but like the fact that, he could be like, this is lunch. I'm going to go out, eat with my dad on a very busy work day. And it doesn't really matter what the you know,
Yeah.
movie is on. Like you could, like I remember Birdman on Birdman, the assistant, the first AD would do stuff like that. He would have the director Inarritu like cast his parents as extras. They would never be on camera, from my knowledge, but like he would then go and lunch would be broken, and if he didn't have to plan anything, he would go have lunch with his parents. It's like that. I thought that was a really cool thing. So it's like he was making that work to a degree. You can't really do that with children though.
Yeah.
It's like so like you can do it like in certain ways. You can make it work. Like I know in the most recent Thor, all the actors' kids were on that, so it's like they got to work with their kids, and that was fun. But like that's an exception, not a rule,
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is the... No, you're good. What would you say is the biggest misconception? What would you say is the biggest...
I'm sorry, interrupting. Misconception. You're trying to say misconception. I've heard that part. Just go on after
What's the biggest misconception about filmed, especially sitcom television, by the wider world?
Everyone's got this misconception that like it's all one person, but it's really like jury of committee. Now there are exceptions. Spielberg tends to be like a one-man band. You work on a Spielberg set, like, because like I worked a day on West Side Story. Like you work a day just to, like, be like, oh, I worked on a Steven Spielberg thing. But like he tells his actors how to move their hands and like all that stuff. So he might be the exception, but like everyone else I've ever seen, that and Steven Soderbergh, actually, those two are the exceptions. Everyone else I've ever seen, it's like a culmination of people. And like we watch these awards, and like they always thank certain people, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is like sometimes you get inspiration, or sometimes like even though the person who's setting up your props is making a joke and adding to this scene in a way that like you never saw coming. And so you'll see that with a lot of different people. Like a lot of things are accidents, and they're not, like, or actors kind of like, I think the best example is Seinfeld. There's an episode where they're all in a car, and like part of the reason that worked is because the car didn't start, and so like they rewrote the script.
Yeah.
And like that was an accident, but like they all work together. But it's like, at the end of the day, you're like, Jerry Seinfeld made that show, or Larry David made that show.
Yeah, it's like, yes, but...
Yeah.
I remember hearing something, there's this awesome channel that I cannot ever recommend to people highly enough on YouTube called Every Frame of Painting. And after his unfortunate demise, the creator of the channel made a video honoring Robin Williams. And one of the things that people said about, and Robin talked about, and he talked about Robin, was using, like, paying attention and using the moment, and how a lot of times Robin would ad-lib things that made the cut because he was amazing, and just little things that happened and people paying attention and letting, kind of like you're saying about, just letting the circumstance dictate, or letting the, the background guy, the set guy, the random dude on the street, letting them not be pushed away from the potential of influence. But if they do something funny, if they say something funny, use it, and not being afraid to approach, not spontaneity, but just but kind of like in a almost like a comedic way, using all parts of the buffalo, right? Just not leaving anything on the table. If it makes the soup better, put it in. It doesn't have to be part of the recipe that, was written out by whoever came up with it first.
Yeah, I mean, I think to touch on Robin Williams, like he just also I think there's like two kind of styles of acting, right? Like there's the actor who can just do what you're asking them better than anyone else, or there's the actor that truly understands the character, and as a result will make different choices. And I think he falls more in the latter rather than the former, because like you watch him agree. and like the last line in Good Will Hunting is him saying like he stole my line, and that's an ad lib because he understood his character so well.
Yeah.
And it only came up like Matt Damon didn't write it, and Matt Damon won an Oscar for writing that movie.
Yeah, apparently, according to interviews I've seen, also there a lot of the other scenes. Granted, he read all their lines. He wasn't like super selfish and was like, "Well, I say what I say and fuck you guys." He read all their lines, but he also would like you're saying ad lib. And like there's a couple scenes. I think it's when he's talking about his wife sleeping, like she would fart so bad it'd wake up the dog. That's not in the script, and that's the reason Matt Damon is truly laughing his ass off. This is the funniest fucking thing he's ever heard, because Robin fucking Williams across sitting across and just like just going off the cuff. And I think there's a scene in that movie too. I don't remember if that's movie or another movie, but I remember that there's some scene where if you pay attention, if you've seen it enough times, the camera moves a little bit, and it's because the camera guy's laughing.
It's that scene exactly.
It's that scene exactly. Okay, yeah. Where it's just like there's a little bit of like movement and just like wait, yeah, like when you're watching it for the first 10 times, you're laughing along with Matt Damon, so you don't pay attention. But on the 11th time, when you can kind of hold yourself together, you'll notice that the camera moves a little. It's because the camera guy couldn't stop laughing. And he's trying so hard to not, but it's just came through.
Well, I think part of that is also like because on a film set, you start your day with like the first thing you do is you get your sides, which is the script that you're going to see for the day, and like every position has to read sides. You have to work off those sides. That's your whole world for the day. So the fact that here's this guy and like the camera operator is probably has memorized the lines for the day, knows the scene ins and outs, and here's this guy making a joke that he doesn't see coming. It's even added on for him being funny because it's coming out of nowhere and he didn't see it coming. But yeah, I've never worked on a Robin Williams piece, but that would have been cool.
Yeah. Who would you have loved to work with that is still like? Is there a bucket list you have of current people that you're like, if you would, even at the cost of a pay cut, it's like, well, I got to work with this guy. Is there anybody that you'd love to? Say again.
James Cameron.
All right.
Yeah, I just think like of all the great giant film box office directors, I think he's head and shoulders above everyone else. Like the first two Terminator movies are insane because like the first one's a terrifying movie and the second one's a family fun action movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did some person successfully take this like robot, this Austrian giant killing machine, and then turn around and make him like the nanny to the savior of mankind?
Yeah.
and like that blew me away. Like, I'm not a fan of Titanic, but like you watch that movie and you're like, such a respectable movie to like the fact that he built on his own Titanic, or at least half of his own Titanic. Yeah. And he sank it and he rose it up. And you're just like, those things, like, I think filmmakers have lost that. Everything's CGI now. You watch Ant-Man Quantumania, which by all means was only a few pages away from being probably one of the greatest sci-fi epics of our time, but because like it's they have to make jokes every second and they have to make everything CGI and like nothing feels real. It's just kind of a middle of the road Marvel movie when it has so much potential of like just being so much bigger than it is.
As far as comedic actors go, is there any way that you'd want to be able to work around or kind of like maybe even ask him a couple questions on set in between?
No, I've done that. I've done my bucket list of that. I've met the Wills, Farrell, Forte, Arnett. I think it's more just like at this point in my career and life, it's now like I spent so much time in my 20s focusing on working on projects. Now it's time to focus on my own stuff, because like, you're only getting older.
Turns out.
So no,
you're not exactly. Benjamin Button.
Yeah, so it's like I have no interest in any more of like James Cameron might be the one person who's like, hey, I want you to come work on, Avatar 3, the fire people or whatever it's going to be called. Then I'd be like, sure. But literally no one else would I ever want to take a job for anymore just because I'd be working for someone, It unless it was acting or something.
Who would you want to cast in if you got to make one of the things you're working on? Do you have any actors that you'd want to cast just to either because they'd be perfect for the part or just because they were fun to work around or with in the past?
No, I think not enough nobodies are taken, and I think that there's a desperation when you're working with actors who have nothing. Whereas like I've seen big actors take nothing roles because they're really passionate about work, but there's still like boundaries that they can set because they're big names. Like I was on this short film with one of the, I forget his name, but one of the top director of photography of our time, and Bill Skarsgård, the clown from It. I think that's Bill Skarsgård. I never get the Skarsgård brothers right.
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
In and he was like this Greek guy who's like friend of mine, and we put it together in a week, and like it was not a remarkable short film, but it was still pretty good. And he just like, you know, like he had his things, but he had his boundaries, and you're just like, and like Bill's a great actor and he's a nice guy. I'm not trying to put him down in any way, shape, or form, but like you notice when you're working with an actor who's like thinking this is my big break, they will do anything over the top to make sure that they can get a seat at the table because of their craft.
Or they're hungry.
I don't think that's respect. Yeah, and I don't think that's respected enough.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have anything I would want to cast. There's people I know that I like better that'd be like, yeah, give an opportunity, sure. And there's people who like if they're like, oh, XYZ person would want to work on something you're doing, then I'd probably say no. Because they're just yeah.
Is there do you have a favorite non-obvious aspect to sitcom and comedic film creation?
Yeah, I think it's more relatable than any drama you'll ever see because the basis of all comedies is losers losing, and the basis of all dramas, winner winning. Because every drama you've ever seen is a guy moving upwards, and every comedy you've ever seen is a guy moving downwards. And once they break those, they no longer become their respective mediums. So it's like with comedies, even if they're in an outrageous situation, they're inherently more relatable, in my opinion, than any drama because of that single notion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it?
That is interesting. Yeah, I had never really put it into those, those kind of like trajectory motions of like how, like in a comedy you can't, because winning is cathartic and catharsis isn't comedy. Yeah. Laughing is cathartic, but not the story being told. And the inverse, like a drama needs to be empowering, it needs to move you, so you have to go down, but then you come up afterwards. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. I think the best examples I can think of is like Adam Sandler's Billy Madison, and like the minute the movie stops being funny is when he starts getting his act together and taking school seriously, and then the jokes stop because like how can they? And then they come back a little bit at the end for the final scene, but for the most part, it's done being a comedy. Yep.
That's where the story kicks in, and they have to like, in quotes, wrap it up, and like the character has to grow. I noticed that in a way. Did you ever watch the show Archer on FX?
Yeah.
I noticed that somewhere during the season that Archer can never be happy, can never have a relationship that lasts more than 3/4 of an episode. He does not get to start and end the episode in a healthy relationship. It can be an unhealthy relationship, but it cannot be a healthy relationship. He cannot start and end it in a healthy way without there being like some kind of like hinted twist at like worst. For all the seasons that I watched, there's a certain point I just kind of checked out because it just kept going and going. But it was like, oh, that's the epitome of like, for comedy, there needs to always be, he can never, and I guess arguably it's just storytelling in general. There can never be closure, there can never be happiness, it can never become whole. It always needs to be in some way fractured for it to continue being the story worth being told.
No, I mean, like, because he can't win.
Yeah, exactly.
They've already established one thing about what I love about Archer is that he's actually a very good spy, and so he can't win at anything else in his life.
Yeah.
The only thing he can do is like be a good killer and all that stuff because they've established that's it. So if he wins at anything else, he's becoming too perfect of a character.
Yeah, it would just be boring. Be like it's the reason this is something I talk about with my brother on our writing podcast, is that like Superman's the worst hero because he's flawless, and it's just like watching Jesus Christ fly around. It's like, this is the most boring character ever. He has no character flaws, and he basically has no like real life I mean, he has in quotes kryptonite, but outside of the richest person on earth having access to it, it's the most uninteresting character because there's just he literally has no weak points.
Yeah, I like that. I like reading, like, it's hard to read, I think, Superman solo stuff, but I love reading him on a team because, like,
oh yeah, he's good on a team,
because like he is like what you strive to be, whereas like Batman's like kind of the flawed person that we kind of all are, whereas like we should all try to be Superman.
Yeah,
you know, we shouldn't settle on being like maniacal, you know, egotistical people.
Yeah, Superman works good as a side character that reminds the main character that they're not perfect and pisses them off. That works really, which works great with Batman, because Batman's like, fucking Jesus Christ, you suck.
Yeah.
Just like constantly annoyed at the Boy Scout.
I do always find like Lex Luthor so funny because like his whole drive as a character is like, no one likes me as much as this guy. And that's like always 100% behind why he does everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's just
high school forever.
Yeah.
For Lex, he's just like, I want to be the homecoming king. And Superman's like, sorry. He's like, no, fuck you. I'm being the homecoming king.
Yeah, no, and you're just like, you could cure cancer. It's like, yeah, but no one would like me as much as Superman, even if I cured cancer. So why am I curing cancer? And you're like, that's so relatable in a way. Like, I feel like I could be that petty. And like, I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna help you with anything because like I'm not loved.
Yeah, exactly. So from the joyously jubilant to the obnoxiously annoying, what is your preposterous peeve, Drew?
Oh, I hate edible arrangements with a passion. I think it's just like a monstrosity.
Or...
There's no flavor. like first off, like you're like, first question is like, oh, is the flavor? It's like, take a step back, bro. There's nothing there. They take the most watered down garbage fruits you could have. Like, I feel like they're grown in a lab to be tasteless. And then they poke holes in them, which drain them of their juices. So it's like whatever taste they possibly could have had is on the fucking cutting room floor. And then like next, when someone gives you an edible arrangement, you can't save it because it's all cut up and like poked holes in. So you have to eat it. Like, I like eating fruit, but I don't want to have to spend the next 5 hours of my life eating fruit because someone thinks that they should wish me a congratulations on having a kid or something. And like, there's so many choking hazards. Like, you give them to kids, the kids will stab their eyes out. I've written about this. I've written like sketches about this. I've written short films about this that never get made because people are like, what is with your obsession with edible arrangements? And I was like, because of their garbage, and everyone needs to know that they're terrible.
This is your Soylent Green moment.
I get really angry.
Edible arrangements are fucking shit. Edible arrangements are fucking sham. Shit.
I hate them. I just don't get it. I don't get how because they've become bigger. Because like I remember as a kid getting like, oh, this is nice. They put like grapes in the middle of a pineapple flower. I'm like, well, where'd the grape taste go? And then like you try to put them in the fridge and they wilt. And you like, and like, you know, like my grandmother is like from Berlin. She was Jewish, so like when she had to move around to make sure she didn't get killed in the Holocaust, like food was important. You don't waste food. And like, I can't throw out in good conscience, like a bunch of fruit. And like, I've tried making them into smoothies and like, no, never tastes good. It's like, you might as well just dump sugar in it. It's like, why am I I'm just eating sugar. And like, there's just, they're so wasteful. They come in like these giant, massive like things. Nothing's biodegradable about anything that come in. They're plastic. You can't recycle them. It's like this weird styrofoam. It's terrible for the environment. They cover it in like, now they cover them in like terrible chocolates. I just like, if someone like gives me an edible arrangements, I would assume that it's because they hate me as a person, and I'm not like
Well,
my
we definitely
reaction.
know you hate them afterwards.
Yeah, it's just like, how did I wrong you so much that you're gonna give me an edible arrangement? Like, I don't think I'm that bad of a person. I mean, no one's perfect, but I'm not worthy of an edible arrangement at my front fucking door.
What do you remember when you first got either experienced the edible arrangement or got this embridled rage from an edible arrangement?
Well, I think it was like there's like a 3-year gap, like around middle school, where my parents would just get sent edible arrangements, and the first time you have them, they're just like, "Oh, what a cool novel idea! Pineapple in the shape of a flower? Who would have thought?" You know. And then after a while, it was like our 10th thing in like 3 years, and I'm just like, "This is terrible." And my parents would be like, "Well, we should eat it. We have all this fruit now. I'm not going to go buy fruit." And like my parents were very big on having fresh fruits and vegetables in the house. And then so like instead of having like what would be normally a snack, which is like a clementine or whatever fruit or like real pineapple, we had to have this garbage fake shit. And it was just like that's my villain origin story. It's just being forced to eat edible arrangements because like you can't waste food. And I just like, ah, God, what like terrible people there are in the world. And like,
do you have a time where this brought out the best in you?
what do you mean?
Do you have a situation where edible arrangements were involved that perhaps you went Hulkamania on it?
No. I don't know. I don't like you're saying things like, oh, I'm going like great things happening from this. No, like
No. Like I meant like, sorry. I'm kind of mixing metaphors. Did you ever have a moment where an edible arrangement put you in a fit of rage that is particularly memorable over all the others?
No, but like, yes, because like, here's the thing is women that don't know you when you're trying to date them and edible arrangement comes up and you get livid, no one want to date you. and this
Turns
happened. We're in group scenarios, and like I've been told by one of my friends, it's like, yeah, she saw you freak out about edible arrangements, the dumbest thing in the world, and she's just like, yeah, she doesn't really want to hang out with you. And I'm like, why is this happening? Like I can't control these emotions. If I could, I wouldn't get this angry.
I love that you're cognizant enough to be like that. It's just like, look, what else was supposed to happen, as opposed to, yeah, why doesn't she also hate them too? There was no like.
I mean, like when I explain myself to people, they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Huh, you're probably right. I get that a lot, but I never get the righteous anger that comes from it.
I'm alone in this.
Yeah, I'm just like I feel like the child who's looking at the like this naked man calling himself king, and like everyone else is being like he's wearing the finest robes. It's like, no, he's not. Edible arrangements are a sham, and you're supporting mediocrity.
All right, well, we're gonna have to go to a second ad break while I change pants because I've wet myself. But don't go anywhere, because when we get back, Drew is gonna enter the lightning round. See you in a minute. This podcast is sponsored by Irrationally. One of the easiest things you can do with your hands and a light source in a dark room. Over human history, millions of people have used to great enjoyment, with limitless possibility and no upfront costs. Will have your hands busy forever, or until the power comes back on. So what are you waiting for? The power to go out? Oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, but when it does, we'll see you and your on the wall. And we're back. Drew, are you ready to enter lightning round?
The lightning round.
Born ready, bro. Born.
All right, buckle
I
your
said bro
seatbelt
to
and
make
keep...
it seriously.
All right, buckle your seatbelt and keep your arms inside the ride at all times. Drew, is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
Yes. Yes. It's over $50 million because then my passion would be showing people how rich I am. So like over, like 100 million.
Make the food or do the dishes?
Yeah. Make the food easily. Cause like I hate cleaning. It just reminds me of death and mortality of like useless things that we have to do. But making food can be a fun adventure.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
Yes. It's part of the reason I left college is because I realized cheating is really incredibly easy and that school isn't about learning, it's about getting grades. So I cheated a lot throughout school because there was no reason to study.
Are you out of touch, or is it the children who are wrong?
I'm always right, so I think that's, I'm never not right. And if I am, it's because I'm trying to show people my humility.
Would you rather have your inner monologue sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
Fran Drescher. I had a bit of a crush on her when I first saw her, and I'm deaf in one ear, so like I couldn't really hear until it was too late, and then but that would just remind me of my childhood crush.
Is professional wrestling cool or lame?
Lame. I never got into it. I think it like the setup and the premise is cool, but the execution always looks fake to me.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
I don't really understand that. I mean, like I'm gonna say, if I'm having the best day of my life, then shouldn't good things happen? Sure. But if you're also having the best day of your life, the next thing wouldn't be as good as the best thing of your life. So something bad. That's what I'm saying.
Nick Cage, best or worst ever?
I put him right in the middle. Like I've never understood people's love with Nick Cage. I think he's fine.
Do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them?
Both. I like there's some epiphany moments where you create your own thoughts, but a lot of times I'm just talking to myself in my head, and then you're just like, oh wow, that's a good idea, Drew. Thanks, Drew.
Would you rather meet your mortal demise by vicious werewolf attack or single zombie bite?
Werewolf attack. Just because it'd be like, that's awesome. Werewolves are so cool. Zombies are the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's the second. If you had not, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, what were you say?
I was gonna say if you were to be like, what's your second pet peeve? Zombies is up there, but because I hate them.
Next season, Bears, Beats, or Battlestar Galactica?
Battlestar Galactica, one of the most underrated shows of our time. And because people hear it and they think the title sounds super nerdy and they're never going to watch it, but it's like the best show ever made.
Pulp Fiction or No Country for Old Men?
I've seen neither of those films. So I'm going to go with Pulp Fiction because I know more references from it.
Cheese fries, an abomination or gift from God?
I've never had good cheese fries, so I'm going abomination.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Yes, I do.
Are truth and reality the same thing?
No. Truth is there's no objective truths in this world, and like everything, like our world itself is based on like how we can perceive things. We only have tricones in our eyes, so colors only exist to us because of our limited view of the light spectrum.
Are we simultaneously living in other dimensions at this very moment?
I think about sleeping as being like a way people go to other dimensions. So I don't think it's simultaneously. I think once you go to sleep, you stop existing in this world.
Whoa. Beatles or Elvis?
I'll go with Elvis. Why not? Americans over Brits every day.
Would you rather the checkout line never had a line, or that the fast food place always give you a large fry when you asked for a medium?
The large fry thing. I just like, I don't know, checkout lines never really bothered me that much, or if there were there, then I'll skip them, and it just like never crosses my mind. But I'm fat. I like to eat food, so yeah, I'll go with the fat guy answer.
Would you rather have the superpower to travel into the vastness of space or the superpower to travel into the darkness of the ocean depths?
Space, because like you can get really rich off space. I don't see how you can get you can get rich off the ocean, but you can't get really rich.
Cake or pie?
Oof. I'm going with pie now. I younger me would say cake. Well, I think I've matured.
Could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1 hour time limit?
Of course.
Congratulations, you've survived the lightning round.
I feel
now
so
that you
accomplished.
have, as a reward, I, like many listeners, would like to now know, what is your favorite food that you could eat 37 of in a 1 hour time limit?
Well, I think I could do soup dumplings, which I don't know if you've ever had them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chinese
Oh.
called xiao bao, but yeah.
Yeah.
Those like I can eat whole. I'm like I don't know. I like there's a thing about like once like all fat people understand this that like heat doesn't matter. You know, like once you get to a certain point in your like fat experience and all that stuff, that like something's really hot and people would be like, I don't want to eat it, it's so hot, and be like, yeah, okay, that's a skinny person view of the world. I can eat like soup dumplings fresh whole, and people are like, aren't this hot? I'm like, yeah, it is. Better eat some more,
but also delicious.
Yeah, fat man's journey through.
As a reward for conquering the lightning round, do you have a question you'd like to ask me and in turn be asked of future guests?
Yeah, I guess I'd go with this. Okay, if you were a mer person, you know, because I'm gonna, you know, be gender positive now. If you were gonna be a mer person, would you rather have the top half or bottom half fish?
I think I go bottom half fish. I'm not in love with my upper physique, but like fish are hideous. Like the fish heads are just no. Fish bottom. Yourself?
Yeah, I go back and forth. Personally because it's like sharks can see so well, and they can like sense things about people and other things around. Like sharks know when you're afraid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like that's a crazy like way to see the world. Whereas like I don't know, I love peeing standing up. You know, also like
if you're in the ocean, you can pee like upside down. Who cares though?
Yeah, but then it'll go in your face or whatever. Like I could walk on land briefly and like I could just pee on the beach and people are like, "Oh my god, it's a merman." And I'd be like, "A mer person, it's 2023." And then I'd go back into the ocean.
That's fucking great.
So I don't know. But like, yeah, I also love hands, right? Who doesn't love a dexterous thumb? You know, like opposable thumbs. They're pretty choice
fins,
indeed.
but flippers good for swimmings. So
yeah, flippers are good for swimming. So yeah, I'll probably go top half just because I don't know. I like my hair. I think that's a good thing.
All right, as we come to a close, is there anything you want to plug, shout out to, you'd like to give, places people can find you or your content?
I mean, I just started making a comedy channel, so once I get a full name, I'll send it to you. But right now, so yeah, however you decide to display my comedy channel, people should check that out. I'm hilarious.
Check it out. It'll be in the doobly-doo.
Yeah.
And or the description, whichever
we're
on it these days.
I think that's it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to plug. Yeah, we did it. Yeah. All right, cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Drew, for being my guest today, and a special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And thank you. Yes, you listening at home, wherever you found time to appreciate this. Time is the most precious commodity we have, and I appreciate you spending yours with us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry, we put out a new episode every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And a very special thanks are due to our patrons, Sibel Yellow. And if you'd like to join such illustrious ranks and have your name read aloud, just head on over to patreon.com/Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And remember, folks, if days are numbered and songs are sung, at the end of the day, I think we've all won. So please stick around, because great things have only just begun.